Welcome back to another Sunday walk video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my crypto cruise yesterday. I had fun recording it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, so I will continue to do so. But today, Sunday walk, what do I have to talk about? Mostly what to expect this week. I think we will see some volatility this week, hopefully in a good way, but I do think the market, overall broader market this week, will be weaker because of this one event that's coming up in the US. And let's talk about it. So what is this event? Well, Fed Chair Powell is going to Jackson Hole. And normally, you know, it's a place of relaxation, right? But you know, Powell has been making speeches from Jackson Hole, and a lot of eyes are on him this time around because obviously we don't have an FOMC meeting this month. So this is the first time the first time he's speaking, and people want to know, like, hey, what are you thinking, right? Is the economy doing well? Is it not doing well? This rate cut that's coming in September, are you going to do 25 basis points or 50? So everyone wants to know what he's thinking, right? Because obviously in July, he said, no, we need to wait a little bit more. No rate cut in July. And a lot of people disagree with that. A lot of people thought that he should have done one already. And shortly after that, Japan happened, you know, and markets crashed. We had a horrible crash for a couple weeks. Last week, however, we actually came back up. So last week, actually, for the broader market was pretty fantastic. A lot of the tech sell-offs like kind of recovered. The tech sector came up in a big way. I know Nvidia, Tesla, and others, they came up in a big way. Not back to their previous high, but getting up there. And even, here's the thing, even MicroStrategy and Coinbase, they had a pretty good week. We saw them recover up too. But the thing is, how come they recovered, but Bitcoin and crypto did not, right? So that's the question mark. So that was surprising. And I mentioned it in my streams last week. I'm like, if you pay attention, MicroStrategy and Coinbase is going up, but Bitcoin's not. So obviously, Wall Street is not the culprit. They're not the ones selling off Bitcoin right now, and there's so much proof of that. So I guess bottom line is this week, I think, just like all other weeks when we had like a big FOMC meeting coming up, we have volatility, right? Because Wall Street is kind of like, you know, trying to predict what may come out of Powell's mouth and what may come out of the Q&A section. But this time around, it seems like this week, economic data is kind of light. The big thing is Jackson Hole. So leading up to it, we could have some volatility in the broader market, especially considering last week was so good. So I think that's the big thing. But as for Bitcoin and crypto, as you guys may have noticed, this weekend specifically, has been pretty good. We've been slowly rising up. As at this time, as I'm recording, Bitcoin's like 59.8. So closing at 60,000, we've been slowly trending upwards, but we have seen this story before where we see Bitcoin trend upwards and all of a sudden a big dip. So we haven't had it so far this weekend. I don't know if we're going to see it this week. I don't know. I think as long as the US government is not dumping more Bitcoin, I think we'll have a recovery week, right? So that's an asterisk. That's what happened last week. Bitcoin was trending up. We were doing fine. And all of a sudden, we saw Bitcoin trickle down again to like what, 57,000, and now we're coming back up again. And it was due to the U.S. government, Department of Justice or U.S. Marshal Services, one of the two. They decided to move 10,000 Bitcoin to Coinbase all of a sudden. I think there's something weird going on there. I think it could be politically driven. Nevertheless, that's what held Bitcoin back. I just got done saying the broader market, including Coinbase and MicroStrategy, had a really good recovery week last week. But how come Bitcoin didn't? It's because they were dumping 10,000 Bitcoin slowly over time. I'm sure they're trying not to disrupt the price, but when you sell that much, it's going to have an effect. So right before recording this, I went on Arkham and checked their wallet. It's been like 5 days or 6 days since a transfer. No other movement at all. So that's good. So assuming that they don't have a need to immediately dump another 10,000 Bitcoin, I think this week we recover, leading up to Jackson Hole, right? I just don't know. I don't know why our government now is selling 10,000 Bitcoin. It makes no sense. That 600 million collected makes no difference to them whatsoever. Zero. Considering our debt is at 35 trillion plus, 600 million means nothing. Really nothing. So I do think it's somewhat politically driven, but I'm not going to go too much into that. But I do think if you put it together, it kind of makes sense. Anyways, yeah, besides that, I also looked at Mt. Gox. I looked at their wallet. They still have about $2.7 billion of the Bitcoin left, which they have not distributed for quite some time. Don't know why. But so far, we have seen Mt. Gox distribution has not done a whole lot to disrupt Bitcoin's price. It really all started with the 10,000 transfer from the Department of Justice. Again, don't know why. But I know a lot of you guys may be a little worried, you know, thinking that there's always something on the horizon. There's always some big entity looking to dump. Well, if you think about it, not really. Not really. Everything what we're going through now is like things that we've been worried about for years. For example, the Department of Justice. Why do they have so many Bitcoin to begin with? Well, they confiscated it from the Silk Road days. So that's 2015. So they do have an enormous amount of Bitcoin. And we also had something like Mt. Gox. Mt. Gox was hacked, right? And the trustee has a lot of Bitcoin to distribute. That was from 2014. So yeah, we have some of these big entities. But that's about it. We don't have any other lingering big entities looking to dump. I mean, China does have some. I guess they could do it, but I don't think so. They're actually on the opposite end. They're actually becoming more crypto friendly. That's why the mining activity has gone up through the roof in China. We have seen Russia now do the same thing, legalize mining, which means that they're going to legalize crypto. So seeing how these other countries are now turning pro, I don't think we really have to worry about them dumping what they have. I think they're going to start accumulating, right? So my point is, this fear of this like constant dumping from these big entities, we're almost through it. We're almost through it. Mt. Gox is almost done. And once and for all, that's done. Our government, are they going to dump the remaining? Or that's it? Maybe they're going to keep it until the next president comes in. We'll see. So, I don't know. There's just not that many big entities that are dumping. On the contrary, if you think about it, there are a lot of big entities accumulating. Right? Last week, what did we hear? We had some surprises. Goldman Sachs. All of a sudden, no one knew about this, but Goldman Sachs, one of the bigger banks, all of a sudden, one of their filings showed that they have $400 million worth of Bitcoin ETFs. out of the blue. No one knew about it. That's big. And other banks like Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley, they're all advising their wealth clients now to get into Bitcoin ETFs. That's pretty big, right? So we have large entities that's buying Bitcoin ETFs and thus causing the Bitcoin ETFs to buy Bitcoin. I've spoken about BlackRock constantly. They have over $22 billion worth of Bitcoin. I believe it's the fastest growing ETF ever in history, according to AUM. The volume on it is like top 5 of all ETFs. I mean, the numbers are staggering. And Larry Fink refuses to have outflows. I think one time he had an accident, and he did there was one session where BlackRock had an outflow, but every other session since then has been either at zero or massive inflows. Because he understands. He understands. So not only that, I also reported yesterday during my drive video that we had a couple surprises from central banks disclosing they hold MicroStrategy. I mean, think about it. That's a huge endorsement, right? That's like Federal Reserve coming out. That's like Powell coming out and saying, you know what, we're going to load up on MicroStrategy stock. That's the equivalency of that. We have central banks around the world that are loading up on MicroStrategy. Just take a second to think about that. That's enormously bullish. Huge endorsement, right? So this notion that, oh, we always have some entity to worry about that's dumping. No. That's not always going to be the case. Okay? You should be worried about the other side. We're always going to have entities now that will be accumulating. And if they continue to do so while retail investors continue to sell, do the math, eventually you're just going to have big corporations and big institutions holding up all the Bitcoin, hold up all the supply. That's not what you want. That's not what I want. That's not what anyone wants. By the way, there's a nice cool breeze right now. It's like 70 degrees. It feels like it's going to rain, but it's really, really nice. Unlike the last 2 weeks where it was really, really humid and itchy. Anyways, so yeah. This is a time to accumulate. I truly believe that. I don't believe anything has deviated us in this run, in this 4-year cycle. The parabolic phase is going to come. This coming week, we could have some very bullish things out of Powell. Maybe he recognizes that, hey, we may have made a mistake. Maybe we should have cut in July. And because of that, we're going to look for a 50 basis point cut in September, something like that. I don't know if he's going to be that dovish, but could. He recognized that a lot of our numbers are looking bad. They're not horrible, but they're bad. So the economy is definitely slowing down. And you could tell, like right now, you try and buy a car, a lot of dealerships are selling cars below MSRP, right? So yeah, we'll see what he says. But there could be some volatility, but then again, it could be good volatility because Wall Street could predict that Powell's going to say some dovish things, and this week we have an even bigger rally than before. And if we don't have any sell pressure from our government, then we're going to see Bitcoin go up, right? And the alts have come up too, slightly, not as high as a couple weeks ago, but still they've been coming up. We have a few specific ones that are doing quite well, and some of you guys are still waiting for altcoin season. I mean, just know that altcoin season, again, I think we'll have another mini one just like we had in March and April of this year. I predict that end of this year we will see another mini altcoin season, and then true altcoin season next year sometime in Q3, Q4, when the market starts topping out. If you don't believe me, just go check the charts. Previous cycles, that's how it's always been. The alts are actually much stronger this cycle than previous cycle, believe it or not. But yeah, that's about it. That's about it. I'm gonna finish my walk. So get ready for this week. I do think that we may have some volatility. Doesn't mean it's bad. And Bitcoin could see a big rise from our current levels. Once we break above 60,000, get back into 62. Hey, the next major level is at 63.7. We're gonna break above that. We're in really, really good shape. And there's no reason why we can't break above that level, especially considering how much shorts there are right now. I mean, we're talking about $15-20 billion worth of shorts waiting to be liquidated. Don't be one of those people. Don't be one of those people holding on a Bitcoin short waiting to be liquidated. All right, it's going to happen, and it's not going to be pretty. So, that's it. I'm going to finish my walk. Smash a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow, usual time, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right, have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.